Right now, one day of skiing at America's flagship resorts costs about $300. Walk-up price, one adult, no lessons, no lunch, no rental gear. And here is the strange part. At $300 a ticket, plenty of ski mountains still struggle to make money on skiing. In fact, for much of the industry's history, the skiing itself was the loss leader. The chairlifts, the trail crews, the patrol teams, all of it frequently ran at a loss, on purpose. The actual product was something most skiers never noticed they were buying. This is a business where you manufacture your own weather, earn a year's revenue in about 4 months, and can lose millions to a single warm winter. This is the economics of owning a ski resort. So take the owner's seat. You buy a ski resort, a base lodge, a fleet of lifts, a rental shop, and a mountain of white gold. Except in much of America, you will discover something odd in the paperwork. The mountain itself? You don't actually own it. Over 100 American resorts, including some of the most famous names in skiing, operate on national forest land, leased from the federal government under special use permits. You hand over a slice of your revenue for the privilege, and you follow the forest's rules. What you do own is the machinery. A modern high-speed chairlift runs $5 to $10 million installed. A gondola can pass $20 million. The snowcats that groom the trails each night cost about $500,000 apiece, and you need a fleet of them. Add the base lodge, the snow guns, the pump houses, the rental fleet, the patrol sleds, the parking lots. A mid-sized resort is hundreds of millions of dollars of steel and concrete, bolted to a mountain you lease, waiting on the one thing neither you nor the bank controls: snow. And that is the first rule of this asset. Everything you own is useless without winter. Which is why, decades ago, the industry made a decision that still defines it. If winter would not show up reliably, they would build it themselves. Snowmaking is the quiet giant of this business. Water is pumped up the mountain, forced through guns at high pressure, and atomized into freezing air. In the American East, roughly 90% of resorts depend on it. No machine snow, no season. The numbers behind fake snow are real. A large resort can move thousands of gallons of water a minute and spread hundreds of millions of gallons across its trails in a single season, enough to fill a small reservoir. Most of it returns to the watershed in spring. Then there is the electricity. Compressors and pumps run through every cold window the mountain gets, all night long. Industry estimates put snowmaking at up to half of some resorts' entire power bills. When you buy a lift ticket, part of what you are really buying is a utility bill, and the climate math is making the machine mandatory. Seasons start later and end earlier. Low mountains lose their cold windows first. The rule of thumb across the industry has become blunt. The resorts that survive are the ones that can afford to manufacture their own winter. So you've built winter. You've paid for the water, the power, the machines. Now you have about 120 days to earn everything. Because this business does a year of revenue in one season, and the clock starts on opening day. The average American ski season runs roughly 4 months. Inside it, the money is brutally concentrated. The 2 weeks around Christmas and a handful of holiday weekends can carry a fifth or more of the entire winter. Lose them to rain, and there is no makeup exam. Staffing follows the same curve. A big mountain swells to thousands of workers for the season: lift operators, instructors, patrollers, cooks, then shrinks to a skeleton crew by May. In many ski towns, housing those workers has become harder than hiring them. Meanwhile, the costs don't ski away in April. Lifts get inspected and rebuilt, snowcats overhauled, permits renewed, insurance paid. Summer brings some revenue. mountain biking, weddings, scenic lift rides. But for most resorts, it is a rounding error on the winter. One warm winter can erase years of careful budgeting. Rain on a holiday weekend is a seven-figure event. And unlike a farmer, you cannot cheaply insure your way out. The weather risk mostly sits on the owner. For decades, that risk quietly bankrupted mountain after mountain, which brings us to the trick that built the modern industry. Because the smartest owners realized the skiing didn't have to carry the business at all. Look downhill from any chairlift, and you can see what actually pays for the mountain. Here is the inversion at the heart of this asset. For much of modern skiing's history, the resort wasn't really selling skiing. It was selling real estate. The chairlift was a machine for making the land around it valuable, and the skiing was the marketing budget. The playbook was written in the post-war boom. Buy a quiet valley, cut trails, hang a lift, and sell property at the bottom. Cheap pasture becomes slopeside land worth thousands of dollars a square foot. Entire famous ski towns began as exactly this trade. Run the numbers, and it's obvious why. A day skier might leave a few $100s on the mountain. A slopeside home sale leaves a few million, and then keeps paying through rentals, property fees, and a family that returns every winter for a generation. It's the same trick theme parks learned with hotels, and golf courses learned with fairway lots. The attraction loses money, so the land can win. On a ski mountain, altitude is inventory. Every groomed trail is also a view that someone will pay to wake up inside. But real estate eventually runs out. You can only sell the base village once. So the industry needed a second machine, and in 2008, in the middle of a financial crisis, it found one. A way to sell winter itself, in advance, by the million. The invention was the cheap megapass. Instead of hundreds of dollars for a day, roughly the price of 3 or 4 day tickets bought the entire winter. Every day, multiple mountains, one card. Skiers thought it was a discount. It was actually a revolution in who carries the weather risk. Because the pass sells in spring and summer, before anyone knows what the winter will bring. The biggest operators now collect on the order of $1 billion before the first real storm arrives. If the snow disappoints, the money is already in the bank. The skier now carries the weather risk, spread thin across millions of people, most of whom ski fewer days than they planned. In exchange, they get options. Dozens of mountains on one card. It is, functionally, an insurance business wearing a ski jacket. The pass also rewrote the map. To make one card worth $1,000, you need many mountains. So the giants went shopping. Today, 2 companies control dozens of major North American resorts, and an independent mountain now competes against a continent-wide bundle. So step back. Manufactured snow. Real estate at the base. $1 billion of winter sold in July. The modern ski resort looks weatherproof, recession-proof, engineered to perfection. Which makes the last number in this story very hard to explain. In the early 1980s, the United States had more than 700 ski areas. Today, fewer than 500 still operate. For all the engineering, roughly 1 American ski hill in 3 has died within living memory. The perfect machine keeps burying its own. The dead are mostly the small ones. Local hills with 1 lift and no snowmaking, where generations learned to ski for $20. They couldn't afford to manufacture winter, and the winter stopped showing up for free. The pipeline of new skiers now starts higher and costs more. Japan tells the extreme version. In its bubble years, it built hundreds of resorts. When the economy turned and the snow line moved, skier numbers roughly halved and the mountains emptied. Today, abandoned lifts rust across the country, monuments to winter bought on credit. And the climate clock keeps moving. Each new study shortens the list of mountains expected to hold reliable snow at mid-century. Every degree pushes the viable line uphill, concentrates skiers onto fewer resorts, and raises the price of the winter that remains. So the answer to the $300 question is uncomfortable. The ticket is expensive because you are no longer just buying a ride uphill. You are buying pumped water, compressed air, diesel, insurance, a federal permit, a share in the industrial production of a season that used to be free. Owning a ski resort, then, is owning a factory with one product: winter, and no control over the raw material. You lease the mountain, front the machinery, earn the year in 4 months, and spend the other 8 watching the forecast. The winners solved it by changing what they sell. Land at the bottom, passes in the summer, scale across a continent. The losers sold only skiing, and skiing on its own was never quite a business. It was a beautiful way to lose money outdoors. And the model has outgrown the mountain. Sell access in advance, bundle destinations, shift the risk to the customer, and let the committed few subsidize the casual many. The ski resort, it turns out, was a subscription business long before software made the word fashionable. Now reread the ticket. $300 for 1 day, and the resort would honestly rather you didn't pay it. They would rather have you at a fraction of that per day, for the whole year, in June, sight unseen. The walk-up ticket isn't really a price anymore. It is an advertisement for the pass. A ski resort is a leased mountain, a manufactured season, a real estate engine and an insurance company, stacked on top of a sport. So here's the question. When the winter itself is bought, built, and pre-sold, what exactly is left of the mountain you think you own?